It was September 2017, a day that changed my life forever. I was on the floor begging for my dad to come back to life, while he slowly wilted away. That was when I realized I'll be experiencing the most unbearable grief of my life. After his funeral, I vividly remember lying next to my mom and holding my tears while shaking uncontrollably, because I thought it is not acceptable to express my vulnerability and grieving emotions. Until recently, I realized that if I just turned around and told my mom how I felt, my grieving journey would not be so lonely, painful, and difficult. Today, most families still do not talk about grief. And not talking about grief leads to isolation, which can lead to avoidance. And with avoidance, grief often becomes complicated grief, where people are likely to experience depression, physical illness, and difficulty in having relationships. It is important to talk about grief before it becomes too difficult to intervene. As a result, I managed to speak with a few grieving families, and there were 4 things that kept coming up. The first is the one-size-fits-all guidance, which is not helpful at all, since grief is unique to everyone. Then, there's difficulty in having a safe space to express grief. The third is the limited ways of expressing grief. And lastly, the struggle with consistent self-reflection. Hello everyone, I'm Leah, and I created Reflect. It is a collaborative art kit that provides a space for families to express grieving emotions in both verbal and nonverbal ways through art. Reflect is here to help parents, siblings or children, extended family, or even friends that feels like family. We believe that collaboration is key during tough times, which is why the entire journey of Reflect requires 2 family members to participate and process grief together. I understand that grief is unique to everyone. That is why the onboarding consists of questions like where you are in your grieving journey, what you're doing to cope, who you would like to begin the Reflect journey with, and lastly, what activity are you most interested in? After going through the onboarding, we'll create a curated kit and timeline based on your answers. We then take a few days to send the curated kit, and once you receive it, you can unbox it. During the unboxing of the kit, our goal is for users to experience calmness and stillness through the use of color and composition. The kit carries a guidebook, 2 Reflect pods, 2 biodegradable journal, and the art supply of choice that highlights the entire Reflect journey. One of the most important elements in the kit is the Reflect pod. It encourages users to have consistent self-reflection, and it is not like an app where you can easily dismiss notifications, but it is a physical smart printer with a screen that gently reminds you to do the journal and the activity. It also has a connection strip on the right that helps you connect to the other pod for the conversation activity, as well as a dial that allows users to set the corresponding week of their printed prompt. After getting familiar with the pod, it's time to begin your weekly journaling. The cards are a sticker that allows you to place them on the notebook, and the impact of physically writing on paper is much larger than doing it digitally, which also helps in expressing grief in nonverbal ways. After a few weeks of self-reflection, users will be able to carry out the conversation activity. To set the scene, the conversation activity is set in a safe space, and users are making a clay sculpture for their lost loved one. They have placed 2 pots together to start the conversation, and during the activity, users will ease into the conversation as they will be crafting while asking questions back and forth. Now that they have begun the conversation activity, the printed prompts are broken down into 3 categories. The first is warm up, for users to ease into questions and feel more comfortable in their space. An example question is, what is one intention you would like to set during the conversation? And then there's connection, to help users embrace and understand each other's emotions. And lastly, support, to encourage users to ask and provide support even after the activity. The intention of the activity is for users to express their emotions in creative ways. and to also use the movement of the hands when creating art as a form of self-soothing and easing into intense emotions. By expressing grief, users will be able to turn emotions into realizations and understand what helps in the grieving process. Here is an example of our user's artwork using Reflect. On the left, you can see a bowl with sunflowers for her aunt named Sun, because they used to make, and dumplings, because they used to make dumplings together. And on the right is an organic vase that represents the state of calm users want to achieve throughout their grieving journey. The art users create is a powerful expression of complicated emotions that are too difficult to put into words. While grief is a long and complicated journey, Reflect helps families have more conversations about grief. And to summarize, the Reflect experience starts with onboarding for personalization, receiving the curated kit that helps with calmness and stillness. The weekly journal encourages consistent self-reflection. The conversation activity provides a safe and structured space to talk about grief. And we want to make every step of the process as meaningful as possible, which is why you, at the end of your Reflect journey, you can plant your biodegradable journal as an initiative of a new beginning. Lastly, we believe in reusing and sustainability. So you can choose to return the pot to us and we'll pass it to the next grieving family. I made this project for people like me and my family right there through the grieving process. And for my dad, knowing my dad, he would love to give this project to all the grieving families out there. So let's start talking about grief. Thank you.